Well, folks, my name is Tigere. Well, I've been with the herd and working at Jabulani Safari for 20 years now. So for me, it has been a long journey, but a very interesting one. There's a lot that we, we, we experienced, and also there's a lot that I've learned throughout the journey. You know, some of the changes taught me a lot about how life should be. And it taught me a lot about also to take care of myself as a personal life, and to make changes when you should make changes. So, Jabulani has been a home for me, and the people that I work with, they are really, really lovely people with good heart, and they care for each other as well as they care for the animals. So for me, it's a blessing to be part of the team that works at Jabulani and at Head as well. So I would say this is my second home apart from my original home. So it's a blessing to be here. Working at Jabulani it's a privilege, but it's also a blessing because it's a quite unique place to work at, and it offers a lot of opportunities for those who wants to learn and for those who wants to improve in life. It's situated in Limpopo, which is not far from my home as well. It allows me to go home and come back here and there, but also it allows me to have time to learn a lot about the bush itself, the animals. So when first I arrived at Jabulani, it was Mrs. Ruda running the company, but she was also being helped by Adin Ruda. So as a family, they actually ran the company together, and with a bunch of elephants that came from Zimbabwe that needed a home. So the lodge was basically there to support the needs of the elephants. So that's why the lodge was built. But along the way, you find out we also received other young elephants that came in as orphans, and some of the elephants that were also born here. And the lodge's been very, very supportive to these animals as the main objective why it was built. So the first elephant here was Jabulani. So Jabulani, being the first elephant, after he got stuck in the mud and then got abandoned by his family, he was found and then presented to Hoedspruit Endangered Species Center. So the main idea or the main objective was to hydrate him and then release him back into the wild. But that idea never worked because Jabulani thought he was a human being at some point, so he didn't want to join the wild elephants. And the wild elephants, they kept on rejecting him because he wasn't part of that original herd from Kapama. So that's when Mrs. Ruda and Adin Ruda and the family came up with an idea of building Jabulani so that they can look after Jabulani and the elephants that came from Zimbabwe after they lost their home due to the land reform program. So it's a milestone that was achieved, but through dedication, love, and hope. So for me, it's been very interesting, to be part of it since the beginning, to now. So yeah, I really enjoy being part of Jabulani team. I really enjoy everything. When elephants translocated from Zimbabwe to South Africa, at that point, I had no passport. So I was left behind to sort out my passport, because I was also part of the team that also, came from Zimbabwe, or the original team came from Zimbabwe with the elephants. So after 2 years later, I rejoined the group, and it was just exciting, to reunite with the herd, to reunite with some of the brothers that I worked with back in Zimbabwe. So yeah, it was very, very exciting. But for me, for 2 years that I've been away, it was very difficult to cope, since learned elephants since I was a young man. So it was very, very difficult for me to be away from them. So the very moment I got here, I felt so relieved. I felt so loved. I felt so I would say, like, excited at the same time, but you feel that feeling like of sadness, thinking like, for the past 2 years, it's the time that I lost, that I should be with the elephants. I should be part of them, But anyway, as time goes, settle down very well, get reunited with the elephants. Then yeah, it was exciting. For the first time, we received an orphaned elephant, apart from Jabulani. It was Kumbura, 2009, in August. It's something that made me become stronger. The fact that, when I saw her, she was pretty much weak. But personally, I learned a lot from that, because the effort that was put to make sure that she survived. And by then we had a different structure of the stables. We had stables that could fit in one elephant at a time. And just after we received few young elephants that were born here, you're looking at Limpopo, she could fit in with her mother, as well as Pisa. She was also with her mother. Then Lundi with Mambo. Then we have Satombi with Klaseri. But if you look at that, the number of the elephants started to grow, to expand. So I didn't look at the structure of the herd, how it was expanding. And then she knew it was time to make decisions or make changes. So that's when she came up with an idea of building a new infrastructure for the elephants that fits in everybody, that is so independent. And it actually provides them with freedom of, strolling overnight, because it's very big for them. They don't have to, spend time in small areas. They can walk around. They can lay down. We have piles of sand in the stables. So that was a very big change, a shift that was brought in, that made me to see like, wow, this is huge. This is nice, because all was done in a purpose of making elephants happy. So it was a very good move that I've noticed, and it taught me as well a lot as a person, that at some point you just need to look at things from a different perspective, or somehow you can ask other people, how are they seeing what you're doing? Is it how does it improve their lives? So the more you get ideas from the people, the more you start to compare their ideas and your ideas, the more you're gonna come up with a better solution. So it's one thing that I've learned from Adine, because she asks other people. You know, when she has idea, she just doesn't pop the idea, but she asks other people, how do they look at it? How does it feel if they were, like, you know, part of it? So I really learned a lot from that, and that also you know, brought me to an extent where I start to look at things from a different angle. And also being part of elephants carers, you know, there are some things that you need also as a person, you know, to look at and put effort on them. For example, working with the elephants, everybody can work with the elephants, but the approachment, the personality around the elephants is very different from individuals. So being part of the team for a very long time, Adine and Mrs. Ruda, they looked at me and, like, you know, they told me, like, you are doing well with the elephants. I think we like what you're doing. We like how you handle. We like how you do things. So they, you know, decided to, you know, to teach me a lot about how to lead the team, and also how to, you know, take care of the elephants and make sure that the elephant welfare is well looked after. So they actually brought me up from junior level to the management level. So along the way, they taught me a lot, and especially from Adine, you know, I learned a lot from her, and she has vast experience in terms of, you know, wildlife, looking at the business perspective. She also teach you a lot about, you know, how you should do things and how you should manage things. So I'm really glad that, you know, I had an opportunity to learn and to go through all such things as a person. Well, back in Zimbabwe, when I started working with elephants, you know, the guys that I met there was Joshua Dube, Liverson Sunday, sorry, and then Simbarashe Ururi, Stavros Chakoma, Israel Shambira. So those are the original guys that I worked with back in Zimbabwe that I'm still with working now. You know, it's an honor to be, you know, to be taught by somebody that will allow you to also to lead them after they taught you, and they give you an opportunity to lead them. So it's an honor. I mean, if you to think of it, it wasn't easy along the way, because there were some obstacles that we came through, you know, in terms of, you know, how we lost baby elephants because they, you know, they were badly injured and stuff like that. But we stood firm, we stayed strong, and yeah, you know, somehow we learned from our, you know, mistakes that we encountered along the way, and that also builds up our experience. So I mean, if you look at Stavros now, he's more like a father to us, you know, but we still need him, because his experience, that's what we need. Physically, we know he can't do all this kind of stuff, but we need him for his experience, because he can teach you a lot, because he's been there, he done that. So if you really want to learn, if you listen to what he says or looking at what he does, surely you can learn a lot, and you can, you know, have a lot of experience from him. Even the other guys like Joshua, you know, Liverson and Israel, as well as Simba. So yeah, it's been an honor to be part of them and to learn from them. And me alone, I couldn't make it without them. So I'm really proud, and I'm proud of them, very, very proud of them. Well, along the way, we don't forget the guests, the people that also support, the operation. I mean, it's quite a privilege to also to meet so many different people from the whole world, you know. But it's all about, humbleness. It's all about love. It's all about, peace. So meeting people from different worlds also builds you up, because you start to learn, different things, how people do, or you're looking at how one should handle themselves around the people. So without those people, surely we wouldn't be where we are now. So meeting guests and greet them, introduce them to the elephants, that makes me feel proud. So when I'm telling the story about Jabulani, I tell the story from the bottom part of my heart, because it's a successful story that we're telling. It's not a made-up story, but it's something that we experienced, something that is there, something that has proof. So when I'm telling people with joy. I'm telling people with pride, because it's a successful story. So I love working with guests, and it also, makes you feel like you're part of the world, And well, when guests appreciate what you're doing at the same time, makes you feel good, because you're doing the right thing, and people are appreciating what you're doing. So that's what I like about Jabulani, because it does things differently from other people, but mainly it has a purpose of doing it. It's not like just making money, but there's a purpose. Animals needs to survive. People also are being employed because of the animals. The lodge is there to support the animals. So if you look at the whole structure, it has a purpose, from people's lives, animals' lives, everybody else that are involved. There's a purpose. So I really appreciate, the effort from Adine, the effort that she puts, and also from Mrs. Irunda from the beginning, the effort that she made as well to get things going. So I really appreciate them very much, and I would say my life wouldn't be the same if I wasn't part of this family. So I'm really, really, grateful, forever grateful about it. And a very interesting thing about the herd is, in the beginnings, it was just individuals, they were all individuals. But the moment they started giving birth, and also, bringing all the orphans, then it moved from individuals to herd. Because, if you look at your Kumbura, you look at Temisa, you look at Kanyisa, you also look at Pabeni now, they're all like one solid structure, Look at how the females are accepting the babies as their own. It's a very interesting thing as a human. We can learn a lot from that, the love that they have towards each other, the care that they, the support that they also give to each other. It's amazing. So the herd has a legacy. Actually, if you look at how it was formed and where it is now. It was a long journey that was traveled, but also we as humans, we learned a lot from the animals in particular. And looking at the big bulls like Zimbabwe, he started as a young elephant. He didn't know what to do. But through experience, he eventually became a dominant bull who protects the herd. And on the other hand, you have Tokwe. Tokwe is the matriarch of the herd. She's the one who actually, mostly receives the babies when they come as orphans. But Adin has also plans, looking at the females, because, for example, if we keep on, let's say, bringing Tokwe to every young elephant, at some point in a long run, it's going to affect the herd. For example, if Tokwe is not here anymore, for example, if it's successfully done that they need to be, reintroduced back into the wild. So when Tokwe is not here, who else are we going to look at to say, she can take over Tokwe's place? So Adin came up with an idea that we should introduce the babies to each and every female, so that when Tokwe is not here anymore, we know Lundi will take over. When Lundi is not here, maybe Satombe will take over, or Bubi will take over. So it's a wonderful, plan. And if you look at, like, for example, recently, it's something that took us for a surprise. We were not expecting it. When we started with Pabeni, we used Jabulani as usual, because Jabulani has a soft heart with young elephants. He's not like other young bulls, but Jabulani cares a lot for other elephants. So we started with Jabulani, and then we brought in Lundi. Then the following day, we brought the bulls. Then I didn't thought about the whole thing, like, okay, why can't we bring Setombi and Klaseri? So it's a mother and a daughter. So we brought in Klaseri and Setombi. It turns out, like, Pabeni went straight with them, and they became like part of him. And then eventually Setombi took over. Lundi is there, but Pabeni chooses to go to Setombi. So, it's not something that we taught him, but it happened naturally. The movement that happened there, it was natural. And then Setombi is okay with her, with Pabeni. But we never seen it with Temisa, we never seen it with Kumbura, even Kanyesa. She wasn't part of that. She was there, of course, but she had nothing to do with them. You could see Tokwe, you could see Lundi, you could see Kumbura at some point helping out. But now it's something new that we witnessed. So it's very interesting to see these things happen, and also the plans that she had, it actually showing the direction, like, wow, this is a good plan and it's working, So the head actually, it's something that it stays within our hearts, and we'll forever love the herd, and we'll support it. So looking at the structure of these elephants at the moment, they're still at herd, with Spirit Elephant Rehabilitation and Development. So when Adin came up with an idea of building an infrastructure like the nursery or the herd, so its purpose is to make sure that we receive all the young elephants that need help from outside. They get the help that they need at herd. But surely these guys they're not gonna be here forever. So Adin has the idea of releasing these elephants back into the wild. But you see, the thing is, it's very difficult to do it in an environment where there's for example, tourism. These are hand-reared elephants. You can't really release them in an environment where there's tourism, there's vehicles running around. It's not going to work, because every time they see a vehicle, they're going to probably come, because they're looking for attention, they're looking for food. So the integration will not be successful if it's done that way. So she's looking at an alternative. For example, find a place where there's no tourism, where there's less human movements. So these guys can, adapt themselves in a situation where they start to understand that they're on their own, they need to survive. Then they will move on with their normal lives without any human interference. So it's a very interesting thing that the head itself, the structure, and also the nursery on the other side, it's built next to the stables where the adult elephants reside at night, but also it helps to calm down the young ones, especially the new ones that are just recently arrived, because they'll be able to communicate with the adults while they're in the stables and the young one is at the nursery. So I think it's a very good setup in terms of, where the nursery is sitting and where the big elephants are. So when it comes to a time where you need to do the introduction, it's not going to be very difficult, because the introduction starts immediately when the baby elephants arrive, because they'll be talking to each other, they communicate to each other. So already this baby elephant knows that I'm not alone, okay? But you just need to give that baby elephant time to settle down and start to see the big elephants, maybe from the other side of the fence. Let them start to, associate themselves with one another. So by the time you start to introduce them to one another, it will be easier. It will be not the first time for them, but for us, it's going to be like, oh, it's the first time they're going to meet. But naturally, they've been talking all along. We don't know. They've been, communicating as they do. So I think it's a wonderful setup where it is sitting, and also where Jabulani Lodge is, because the people that stays at Jabulani can also, be part of the elephants for educational purposes. They can go to the swim, where they can sit in their vehicles and watch the elephants from the vehicles, elephants swimming, doing their own natural stuff. But along the way, there's a carer with them. They're talking, they're discussing about the herd, in particular individual elephants, the stories, what some of the other things that you encountered and stuff like that. So that's the story that we tell to the guests, so that to make it the whole experience is part of educational at herd. So I think it's a very interesting, and it's a well looked after environment, and the setup is just amazing. It's really, really incredible. I would like to say a happy birthday to Jabulani. In my language, which is Shona, we say Makorokoto Ezula Ekuberekwa. So basically, you're saying a happy birthday and congratulations for the creation of Jabulani. So yeah, I'm proud, very, very proud to be part of it. I'm very proud that Jabulani Safari was, built, and being part of it is just a blessing. Yeah, on behalf of the elephants, if I were Jabulani, personally, I would have said thank you to everyone who have contributed towards elephants, and thank you to Adine and Mrs. Ruda for creating such a wonderful place. where elephants are at peace, where elephants are well looked after, where elephants are being taken care of. So Jabulani means a lot, animals' lives, and Jabulani will always be part of Jabulani herd since it was built specifically for that. So if I was Jabulani, I would say thank you very much. For your support. I would say in my language, Tatenda, thank you very much.